Hi guys, I'm Charlie, a Charlie Book Fanatic. Welcome back to my channel. If my voice sounds off, I have a cold, so that is exactly why. I'm trying a different camera angle today. I'm not entirely sure on the camera angle. I love the background, but I am totally covered in shadow. As you can see, my window is like right there. So that's a little annoying. I'm not entirely sure what to do on that. I think I need to eventually buy a ring light so I can just have some lighting on my face for that. But I think this camera angle is quite cute with like my books in the background since this is a booktube channel. But let's just get on with it. You'll just have to deal with my face being shrouded in darkness. The topic for today's video is random word recommendations. And what I did was I used a random word generator and a couple of words came out of that, and based on those words I'm going to give you a book recommendation. I thought that would be fun, so let's get started. The first word I got was feed, and I thought this one was so easy. I could immediately think of a book for this one, and that is The Coldest Girl in Coldtown by Holly Black. This is about a girl, Tana, who wakes up surrounded by corpses. Her ex-boyfriend is still alive, he's also there, and then there is this random vampire, and the story eventually leads up to Tana and her ex-boyfriend and this vampire going to this cold town, and cold towns are towns filled with vampires. They are locked up in this cold town. When you enter a cold town, you cannot leave anymore. So that's what this book is about. Obviously, these vampires feed on humans. That's why they are locked up in the cold towns. There's some sort of agreement between the vampires and humans where they do get their human blood. I thought this book was really interesting. I really loved it when I read it back in the day. I don't know if I would love it as much if I read it now, because I have this kind of problem where when I reread a book that I really loved, I suddenly like it a lot less, which is why I don't really like rereading anymore. When I read this, I think 2-3 years ago, I really loved this. I still was in a very vampire-y mood, so if vampires are your favorite creatures, which they are still my favorite creatures, then I think this is definitely a book you need to read. It is a standalone, you're not committing to a series or anything, you can just read this book and be done with it, which is a very nice in my opinion. Then I got the word spine, which was also a very easy one, and I think this could be a very hard one for people who haven't read this book, but I have read a book about scoliosis, and if you don't know what scoliosis is, it is a problem with your spine. I have scoliosis myself, although not in as bad a form as it can get. But I did read a book about it. It's called Braced by Alyson Gerber. This came out like last year, the year before, I think. I enjoyed it, although I do think it's quite a forgettable read for me since I barely remember it, but I do remember the synopsis, and it is about a girl who has to get a back brace to prevent her scoliosis from getting worse. She has to wear this brace, I think, almost 24 hours a day, and it's really hard for her because it kind of makes her look weird in her clothes. It makes her look off because the brace is kind of big and it makes you look a little fatter than you actually are, and she doesn't feel comfortable in it. It feels very painful for her and she has to get used to this. But if you have to wear a brace like so many hours in a day, it can get quite frustrating for you since you also have to wear it while you're sleeping, and that is also very uncomfortable. And then this girl also has prom coming up and she has to wear this brace with her prom dress, and she was expecting to look like a princess, and now she has to wear this back brace with her prom dress. And she has to come to terms with the fact that she has to wear this brace for a very long time. The next word was winds. This one I thought of Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy. This is standalone YA contemporary about a girl who lives in a trailer with her mom. They suffered great losses because of Hurricane Katrina, which is why I recommend this for wind, because our main character is greatly influenced by Hurricane Katrina. Our main character, Ramona Blue, has blue hair and she's also bisexual. At the beginning of the book she has a girlfriend and she is somewhat struggling with her sexuality throughout this book. I thought that she was a very interesting character, very sassy. I really liked her, and I thought it was a very unique book because our main character lives in a trailer and with her mom and her sister, I have to say. So her sister being pregnant while in this trailer, her life isn't getting any easier. Degree is the next word. I didn't take this as like a temperature or an angle degree. I took this as a degree you get in college. So I basically interpreted this as college, and I went with the first book in the off-campus series called The Goal by Elle Kennedy. This is a 4-book series, each book following a different hockey guy, but they all live in the same house, and a different relationship with that. Some of the guys in this series I really liked, some of them I didn't really. Some of them are very cocky. The first book, The Goal, was definitely my favorite. You don't have to read all of the books, it's really not necessary. If you just want to keep it at the first book, it's also fine, but I really liked the relationship in the first book, and after that it got kind of old, but I did finish the entire series because I thought it was still worth it. I was still enjoying it. Never got any better than the first book, to be honest. Goal follows all of these hockey guys living in the same house, and the first book follows a guy called Garrett, and he falls in love with a girl, and at first he doesn't really have any feelings, he sleeps around a lot, but eventually he develops feelings and he doesn't know what to do with them because he never really had these feelings before. So he's struggling with trying to confess to this girl and telling him he's serious about her. The next word is population, and I would recommend The Knife of Never Letting Go, the first book in the Chaos Walking trilogy by Ness for this. I wasn't sure what to think about the Chaos Walking trilogy when I read The Knife of Never Letting Go or when I read the second book, but the third book really sold me on this trilogy. It is one of my favorite series at the moment, and I want those pretty black paperbacks with like the black spray pages. Oh, I cannot wait to have those in my possession. I'm really eyeing them right now and I really want them because I think they're so pretty. And why I thought this series with the word population, because the series is about Todd, and Todd in the first book lives with only males. Like his whole town is made up of males. It is a science fiction story, by the way. A while into the future on Earth. And Todd is living in this isolated town with only males. Everyone is male. He hasn't really known a female since he was a baby, because he obviously got born in some way. Used to be females, but now there's not anymore, and Todd doesn't really know why. He only knows he has 2 dads. The whole story really takes off from there. Todd meets this girl called Violet, and that is the first time he ever really sees a girl and gets to talk to her. After that, the story follows Todd and Violet on this whole escalating adventure. Everyone in this story, which is also why I thought of this series, can hear each other's thoughts, but only males. It isn't really explained for a while. When Todd encounters Violet, he realizes he cannot hear her thoughts and he doesn't know why. You get to figure all of that out while reading this series. It is really good, and that's why I thought of population, because there aren't really any females. The population is only made up out of males, and that is a very strange occurrence because Todd did get born out of a female, so what happened to his biological mom? And I got the word cage, and that was a very pick for me, but it's also kind of a cop-out, and I picked A List of Cages by Robin Rowe, because cage is in the title. But the title is also very symbolic for the story. It is a story of child abuse, of brothers. It follows 2 main characters, a younger boy and an older boy who has ADHD, and they are trying to figure out this relationship of brotherhood that they have. It is a very sad story. It didn't emotionally impact me as much as I wanted to, but a lot of people have really loved this book, which is why I want to recommend it to you, because you will probably love it more than I did. Why I didn't love it as much as I would have is because I didn't really like the depiction of ADHD in it. I didn't feel like it was accurate, at least not for me. I couldn't relate to it, but I have ADHD myself, although somewhat less of a hyperactive form of it. I have both traits of ADHD and ADD. So the way ADHD was depicted in this book kind of annoyed me a little, because it was mostly the hyperactive kind and you didn't really see anything else that went along with it. I did think it was a very good book about child abuse. It ropes you in and it hurts you when you're most vulnerable about this book, when you're really connected with the characters. And I thought the author did a really good thing with it. I also think this is her first book. It is her debut book, so I think it is really good for what it is. And a lot of people have really loved this. So I would recommend it to you, and you will probably love it way more than I did. And the last word I got was knife. The book I thought about for this one is Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. I am not going to show you the cover for this one because I read this book, but the cover was extremely triggering for me because the cover to me looks like skin with cuts in it. And that is extremely triggering for me, to be honest. Can't really look at it anymore. And I think it's really in bad taste for the cover to be made that way, because the story is about self-harm and there are very clear and illustrative self-harming scenes in this book, and you can really imagine them, and that is something that was really triggering to me, so I had to skip over those parts because they were so bad for me. But the rest of the book was good. I can't say I enjoyed the book, but I did think it was fascinating. I am still glad I read it, although it felt a little triggering to me. So if you do have triggers regarding self-harming and stuff, I would recommend you stay away from this book, to be honest. If you don't have those triggers, if you don't really care, if you have no relationship with self-harm or severe depression, then I would recommend you check this book out, because it is worth a read, although I do wish it had a different cover. And it does have a different cover, but I have to go to the Goodreads page and look at the cover. I can't stand to change it to a different cover, if you know what I mean. It's a struggle, it's a problem, but I am not going to add the cover in here because I just don't think it's worth the pain. So why I chose knife for this is because of the self-harming aspect of the book. And maybe that's in bad taste, I'm not entirely sure on that yet. But the girl in this book uses all kinds of things to harm herself, to be honest. I don't think it needed to be that clear on it. I don't think the scenes should have been that in-depth, but it definitely confronts you with it. When you have no experience with depression, I think it can give you a very clear picture of what it can look like. So those were my random word recommendations. Let me know down below what you would recommend for any of these words, or can you recommend any books to me based on the books I just recommended to you? I would love to know. Thanks for watching. Goodbye!